Welcome into the Dynasty review for the Minnesota Vikings. Looking at what's changed from the beginning of the 2023 season. It's January 26th, so championship weekend or Sundays coming up. Vikings obviously aren't in it. They finished 7-10. Kind of had a weird season. Started off badly. Kirk Cousins got hurt, and then they started to do well, like right before Cousins got hurt, and then they kind of tanked at the end. So they finished 7-10. Brian, what do you think of when you think of the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, I think they're kind of an exciting team in general because, like you mentioned, like it's funny because like you said, they started off kind of bad, and Cousins was putting up good numbers, and then he gets hurt, and then we still saw the team do pretty good in general, like not like lights out or anything like that. So I think the talent on the roster with the receivers and Hawkinson kind of like speaks for itself a little bit, where it's like they don't necessarily need like great quarterback play in order to be productive.
Yeah, they kind of foster Minnesota that is good quarterback play fantasy wise. They I think I remember hearing about it. This was like when Nick Mullins started to take over and just like, all right, what do we expect? And it was like Minnesota at that point had like 10 of the 12 weeks where 10 of 13 weeks where their quarterback finished top 12. And Nick Mullins, I think, finished 3 times in the top 12 from when he took over, essentially like from week 15 on. So he had like 3 top 12 quarterback finishes. So one, they just throw the ball a lot, and they have good players, obviously, to catch the ball. So that's a big reason why. So, yeah, I mean, whoever's the quarterback here, there's going to be value, but we'll get into that. Cap space, they have a decent amount, 14th most, $30 million. Draft picks, they have 8 of them, including 2 in the 11th overall, and then their second-round pick at 42 overall. So a couple good picks there. Free agents. Kirk Cousins and Joshua Dobbs are free agents. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Cam Akers had a second Achilles tear. He's a free agent. He's probably done. KJ Osborne's a free agent. He's kind of like borderline roster clogger. I mean, even when Jefferson was out, he wasn't really doing much on this team. It was like Addison and Hawkinson. But we'll see where he goes. And then nothing much at tight end in terms of free agents. So, yeah, I guess we'll start with like Kirk Cousins. I mean, the dude was on fire. He was like on pace for almost 40 touchdowns and like almost 4,900 yards, like which would have led the league in both, I believe. I think Dak had the most passing touchdowns at like 36 or 37. So a lot of value there. I mean, is the best landing spot for him. He's 35 years old. Is Minnesota just the best spot for him, or do you think there's another team, the Falcons or something out there that's better for him?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say the Vikings are the best fit just because he's already there. Like he has good rapport with the guys there, but that's not to say that he won't be good if he goes somewhere like the Falcons necessarily, but I feel like he's probably going to live in that like quarterback 12 range if he goes somewhere else. But we've obviously seen the upside for the last like several years. Like he's been good. I just feel like he doesn't get a lot of respect. Like when it comes to that. Like it's kind of funny. Like he finished just behind Ritter, I think, in total points for the year. And he played half the games. So There you go.
Yeah, he was, I think, want to say like top 7 in points per game. So, the dude was really good. I'm just looking at his keep trade cut value. They have like Will Levis ahead of him. Like, I'll happily trade Levis and get something in return plus Cousins. Like, even straight up, I'd potentially do it if I'm contending. I know he's 35, but he could still play 2 more years, like easily, So, I don't know where he's going to go. I mean, early on, it seemed pretty it seemed like he was going to come back to Minnesota. I think he wants to come back to Minnesota. Now I'm hearing reports that maybe Minnesota just wants to kind of make a big move at quarterback, go for someone else, or just change. So I really don't know what to expect here. But I still think, no matter where he goes, he's going to be a top 12 to top 15 at worst quarterback if he's playing every game. So
which you could totally understand Minnesota's like thinking in there, right? It's like they won the division last year, right? Or sorry, I know we're not saying that. 2022.
Yeah.
Pretty sure
they won the division. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think they won a playoff game.
No, they lost to the Giants.
Well, they just can't. Oh God, that's terrible. It's just like they can't seem to get over that hump, even though they have competent quarterback play. So I don't think Cousins is the problem necessarily, but you can't necessarily fault them for like wanting to move on and try something else, because obviously this isn't working, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. This is one of the few teams where they have 4 quarterbacks, on their roster right now, or before the season ends, and I think all of them are holds at this point. Obviously, Cousins is, but also Nick Mullins, Joshua Dobbs, Jaron Hall, like all these guys are holds. Nick Mullins, if they can't find a solution at quarterback, could be the quarterback there. And we saw 3 top 12 finishes in like 5 games from him. Josh Dobbs had a good season this year. He kind of, turned back into a pumpkin a little bit, but he was also traded in the middle of the year and like on 3 different teams in a year. And so if he can get some stability, maybe someone brings him in to compete with someone, or he's like a bridge quarterback for a team that took a rookie. Jaron Hall, he showed he had one game where he played and then got knocked out, or maybe it was 2 games, but he's a rookie that, again, maybe he gets an opportunity to fight for the job. So, I think all those guys are holds for sure. I'd like to see Dobbs have a chance to compete to win a starting job somewhere.
It might be interesting if they try and move up to get a quarterback, because they're kind of in that range where they're probably not going to get one of the top 4 guys, like we're starting to get in that range where it's like definitely 3 are going to be gone before their pick if they stay put, like possibly 4 or 5 even, I guess, like depending on who moves where. But I don't know, like they should be considering that if they are willing to move on from Cousins. But I think honestly just keeping Cousins is kind of the way to go, but I don't know.
Even if it's Cousins for a year and you do take a Bo Nix or Michael Penix and let them sit for a year, like that's not a terrible thing. Like let them sit and learn for a year, and then they take over when Cousins is gone, So, they're not going to be, especially if they bring Cousins back, they're probably not going to be in this position again with the top 12 picks. So I definitely could see them taking a quarterback if they, if one of them that they like falls to them. So, or even moving up a couple spots, or, trading up with the Chargers or something, who could definitely use picks. Interesting quarterback room. Running backs are not super exciting. Ty Chandler kind of took over at the end, and he had a couple good games there, but he wasn't like anything amazing. Madison was a pretty big disappointment for what people thought he was going to be. He's the perfect example of like the process trade on Madison was to trade him as soon as he was the number 1 guy in Minnesota, as soon as Dalvin Cook left, which was pretty late in the offseason, if I remember correctly. And maybe you're going to be wrong, but again, that's just like the Zamir Whites of the world and the Ty Chandlers, even like just selling them as soon as they like get this big bump in value is probably the best move, and you'll probably be right 7 times out of 10. So any excitement here? Like Dwayne McBride is another one. Like I kind of liked him coming out of college. I think he was either a 7th round pick or undrafted. He never got off the practice squad, but it's not a running back room that's there's one guy that's for sure going to take it over. So I think he's kind of a stash, Dwayne McBride, at least for another offseason. But anyone you're excited about out of this running back room?
No, not excited necessarily, but I can totally see. Like I know what you're saying about Madison and Chandler. You know, Madison previous to this past year, and maybe even Chandler now, as far as like trading them when they get that bump kind of a thing. But I can also see them as like solid, like holds, like running back depth because they might turn into something.
Oh yeah.
I imagine one of these guys is going to be the number 2 on the team. So yeah, I mean, like you said, like I mean, they traded for Cam Akers mid-season, and that didn't work out, obviously. And like you said, he's probably done. Not just there, but probably in general. You know, like he'll be the RB3 or 4 on someone else's team, maybe. But yeah, so there's no real competition, but there's also no clear answer. But I think, like you've mentioned before in some other videos, like just stashing a ton of these running backs to see who's going to come, like become something, you know, like if you have like, if you're saving like 4 of these type of guys where it's like, there's a path, but there's no real answer yet. It's like, if one of them turns out to be something, that's a win, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, it just kind of depends. Like I feel like you're not really trading for any of these guys unless you might be able to get one of them for like a third if you're like really if you feel like, oh, this is going to be the guy, you know, you can shoot your shot now because if one of them gets named a starter, you're not getting them for that cheap, you know? So you kind of have to like go with your gut on these guys.
Yeah. I always caution in general trading for players now, but also running backs, especially just because, you know, when you trade a pick for a player, you have all the risk now. What if your player goes to Las Vegas and punches someone and gets suspended for 4 games? Or, you know, what if they draft someone, or what if they bring someone? Like, you have all the risk now, whereas the pick at worst stays the same with the value, right? So, but yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, they're definitely all Chandler, Madison are definitely holds. Dwayne McBride, I would stash if I could. Cam Akers, I don't know. I'm probably just gonna cut him if maybe for now you hold him, but when rookies come in, Myles Gaskin's there, but that's nothing really to talk about. So, and this is a team 2 years now with Kevin O'Connell. They've third in pass rate percentage both years, 2022 and 2023. 64% in 2022, 63% in 2023. So they're going to throw the ball, they're going to pass the ball 60+% of the time. That's just what they do. So whether they have Jaren Hall or Nick Mullins. Receivers, obviously Jefferson's awesome. I will ask you this. So I'm pretty sure he's still wide receiver 1, right? Keep trade cut. If they go into the year with either Jaren Hall or a rookie quarterback, would you drop Jefferson below Chase or Lamb? Or are they just still? I think those 3 are in a tier right now together. I know that's not how Keep Trade Cut has it, but we don't know whose quarterback is, right? So he'll probably still be good, but would you drop him potentially below those 2?
Not necessarily below, but I agree with you where you said like those 3 guys are kind of like they're in a group together, you know, like I honestly liked Jamar Chase over Jefferson going into this last year. Just like out of like I just thought like Jamar Chase, like he might have like better quarterback play and like I don't know. It's I'm not gonna drop Jefferson, but like I think those 3 guys are kind of interchangeable. Like you're not necessarily like trading one for the other. I mean, unless you feel that strongly about one of them.
Unless you're getting something on top of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I just meant straight up. So no, I'm not dropping him because, you know, good players are going to be good. Like it might affect his ceiling a little bit if he has bad quarterback play, but he's still going to be easily top 12 no matter what, as far as I can tell, you know, like he's just too good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, wide receivers do get affected more by bad quarterback play. Like Garrett Wilson definitely had a ceiling because of his quarterback play. Devontae Adams had a ceiling because of his quarterback play. So Jefferson's better than those players, but it would be a little scary if they do go in with Jaron Hall or a rookie, which we don't know about. So I do like to see CeeDee Lamb up there as 2. Again, I think those 3 should be in a tier to themselves because I honestly could see taking Lamb as the wide receiver 1 over the other 2. Like, they're all similar age within a year of each other. And Lamb has had the best season out of any of the 3 last year. Was the best season than Jefferson's ever had and Chase has ever had. So, yeah, I think we'll talk about that more, I guess, when we get to the Cowboys. Addison, just a good player, properly ranked, a top 15 Dynasty asset. Don't know if there's much to talk about there. He's going to be capped a bit because of Jefferson, but he can still put up good numbers with Jefferson there and be like a top 20 receiver pretty easily. Anything on Addison?
Yeah, I think he's like a little bit high. I'd probably put him below DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, and like he's probably in lockstep. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say him and Drake London are probably kind of on that same page. I'm not sure how I feel about Tank Dell yet. I'm just looking at like the 4 guys or 5 guys that are underneath him. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, I don't know about Rashee Rice. Like, I think I might just rather have him than Addison just based on like where he's playing and stuff. And like, we saw him like emerge. So I think he's a little bit high, but I mean, I'm not going to like make like a serious argument like for any of those guys over Addison necessarily, except for I think Pittman and DJ Moore. But I know DJ Moore is kind of like, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be in Chicago and stuff like that, but I think he's still going to be heavily featured there. So I just feel like those guys, we've seen it for longer, even though like more, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to explain it too much and talk about these other guys until we get to them.
I mean, would you have them? So obviously Puka from this rookie class is ahead of him. Tank Dell, you said Rashee Rice would be ahead of Addison. So is he like, where do you rank him among versus Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, JSN? Maybe Jaden Reed if you want to throw him in there, but probably not.
No, I don't want to. I would say he's number 2. I don't know. I still have concerns about Tank Dell in general because, we had concerns about like, oh, he's kind of a smaller guy and stuff like that going into this year. And obviously he showed great, but then he got hurt a couple of times, which is kind of what we were worried about with him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like he definitely played better than we thought. So I think I would rank it. I think I'd still have JSN first. Like if you could trade Addison for JSN, I think JSN's situation's only going to get better, whereas Addison's going to stay the same at best or get worse because of quarterback play. So I'd say JSN, Addison, Zay Flowers, and then the Tank, I think.
Yeah. One thing about Tank, so he had a concussion, which I don't think we can relate that to his size. And then the broken leg was kind of a freak thing. It just got kind of rolled up on from behind type of thing, So it's like, I don't know if his size had anything to do with him missing games, and he never really missed games in college either. So, yeah, but I understand. We've never seen someone that small. Well, we've seen one guy, but someone that small, like, be a consistent receiver. But
Cole Beasley.
I like Tank Dell. Yeah, I don't even know what. I mean his weight more than anything. I don't know what.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely outplayed what people were expecting from him. So you definitely got to respect that. He's a good player for sure. And he's connected to Stroud, and obviously the whole thing was, the narrative. I still don't know if we ever got confirmation if it was true or not, where Stroud is like, get Tank Dell, like in the draft, like after the draft.
I think it was.
I heard it a few times, but I never really followed up on it to see if it was true. I just kind of assumed it was, and it definitely seemed to be that way.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton is another one who he was like 175 pounds, and he was good for a long time. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dell over Addison personally, but I'm not going to argue it too much. And yeah, I mean, all the other guys are either not on rosters or kind of just roster cloggers, in my opinion. Even KJ Osborne, don't really see him being much. So, Hawkinson, had a major knee injury, so that's going to knock him down a bit. But I don't, I still expect him to put up good numbers when he comes back. He might not be ready to start the year, but so you got to keep that in mind. But he's still going to be tied to this offense and still pretty good.
Yeah, a major part of it too. So,
yep. So yeah, I think that's it then for the Vikings. Any last words here?
No, I think we nailed it. I don't know. I feel like I want to say something more about Hawkinson, but I don't really think there is a whole lot. So,
nah, he's he was tight end 1 at one point probably during the year, I would say, but his injury knocked him down, or Sam Laporta supplanted him, and so he's at worst. I wouldn't put like Kincaid over him. Maybe I'd still put Andrews over him, but I don't know.
Yeah, well,
at worst he's like tight end 4 or something.
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's what I was going to say. Like, I noticed Andrews is all the way down at 5. Would you trade Hawkinson for Mark Andrews and a second?
So I get Andrews and a second?
Yeah,
definitely, 100%.
Yeah, I would too. I was actually kind of surprised that they're only like 2 years difference in their age.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think that's awesome, or that would be awesome. It doesn't look like you could do that, like according to the calculator, but I'd float it out there.
I mean, I'd probably even do it for like a third, like a high third or mid third, to be honest. Like, because I think they're very comparable. So, or even just like a throw-in piece, like a quarterback or running back, young player or something like that. Like, yeah, anytime you can move laterally and like a guy basically the same tier and pick up a decent asset, like I think that's the way to do it, like every time. So, yeah, hopefully he will be back relatively soon. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that. It seemed like a bad injury though. That is it for the Vikings. We are on to the Broncos next.
Yay!
Yeah, another team who, is in an interesting spot. So we will finish up there. As always, like and subscribe. Catch you guys next time.